You're listening to Barbell Logic,
the podcast where we talk about what it means to experience strength
and how you can use simple, hard, and effective strategies in training and nutrition to improve your life.
It starts with meeting you where you are right now and finding lasting solutions.
Welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Barbell Logic podcast, Beast Over Burden. Welcome to 2024. Really excited for this one today. I've got two of my besties. We've got Andrew Jackson, co-host to your Beast Over Burden. He's the COO of Barbell Logic, strength and nutrition coach.
Good morning.
And drum roll. We've got Matt Reynolds, CEO, host of the TKC Coaching Success Podcast, also strength and nutrition coach.
And bestie of you guys.
And bestie.
I always think it's funny. I haven't heard anything about this. I don't know if you guys have. I always wondered if people are like, are Nikki and Andrew on the outs with Matt because they split the podcast up? I'm like, no, we're like super close. Yeah. But, it's just, I think where our business is focused right now with you guys really focusing in on Barbell Logic and TKC and BLOC and the end user lifter. I'm so engaged right now in passionate about the business side of stuff. It allowed us to do that. And so certainly my podcast is a pretty good funnel for TKC, for future coaches for TKC and just business owners in general. And so we've had a blast so far the last 6 months or how long we've done this and kind of split the podcast. But lest anybody worry that we've got any, I'm super excited to talk to you guys. Happy New Year, guys.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
So we get to hang out in a little less than a month. We do that about twice a year, which is, I'm excited to have you guys come to Springfield. And
we're having a big sleepover. We're staying at your house. It's basically a long sleepover.
I was at first, I was like, yeah, you guys can book a Airbnb close. And then I started thinking to myself, like, wait a minute, I need to at least offer like, hey, we actually love to have you guys out. But I thought you guys would be like, I don't know, but you're like, no, we love staying at your house. It's super fun. And so I'm like, cool, let's do it. It reminded me back in the old days. I remember the time we came back from the conference, which shall not be named. We rented a 15-passenger van. I think we brought 12 or 13 people back to the house, to the old house. And we were all, we just literally had a giant sleepover with like 12. Sully was there and Rebecca Saigan and
Berman.
Yes, everybody. It was a blast. So yeah, it is fun to stay and eat together, cook together, make good coffee together. So I'm excited to hang out and meet.
Looking forward to it.
Well, we have a lot to cover, so I think we should jump into it.
Tell me about your inspiration for this one.
2 parts. One, I think most people have seen the Spotify Wrapped stuff going around, and I thought, that'd be kind of interesting to have our data analyst, Greg Boltman, who works for me, pulls data for us all the time, and he's actually becoming a little bit of a developer, or quite a bit of a developer, actually. So he does a ton of automation stuff for us, and I thought it would be fun to have him pull some of the data out of TKC, since we collect so much of it from our coaches and our clients, and just kind of look back at some of the BLOC Wrapped metrics in the system. And then the second part is really an inspiration from a podcast that the three of us really love to listen to, the All In Pod. They do, what do they call them? The Besties?
The Bestie Awards.
Bestie Awards, yeah.
They do the Bestie Awards, which is a combination of looking back at the last year, everything from political stuff to, current events and business. And then they do sort of a predictions for 2024. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to merge those together and do a BLOC Wrapped plus BLOCies. Today, I think we're only going to be able to get through wrapped metrics and kind of the look back. And we'll do another one where we look into 2024 with our predictions for 2024.
Yeah. So whereas I'm the guest on you guys' podcast today, we'll look back. And then on Friday, we will record a podcast looking forward to 2024 about what we're excited about. So it should all kind of flow together pretty well.
First off, BLOC Wrapped. We all know and talk about a lot that consistency is one of the most important metrics. We track it in the app, how many workouts people are completing. We celebrate it with the BLK and the BL 500 half K. And so I had Greg pull most consistent clients of 2023. We have a list of about 15 clients that were 100% consistent. I'll just kind of read through some of these names, maybe about top 5 or so.
And every one of these are actually 100% consistent, right?
100%. Yeah, these are all the 100%.
Yeah, all 15.
Which doesn't only mean that they completed every single workout, but that they completed every single assigned exercise by their coach.
Sets and reps, all the stuff.
So number 1 is Zach Newman. And his first workout was the 2nd of January 2023. Last was December 20th. He completed 840 exercises with 100% consistency.
840 exercises. Congrats, Zach.
He was our number one by quite a bit.
Super cool.
Do you have his coach there?
Coached by Caleb Krieg. And his client ID is number 342. So he's been around. I don't know if he's a BL1K, but he's got to be up there.
Yep.
Number 2, Jennifer Hicks, 794 workouts, 100% compliance, coached by Brittany Snyder. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this correctly. Jacob Marzalak, 702 workouts, coached by Adam Skillen. We're going to hear that name a lot today. Michael Wolf, coaching James Bevilacqua.
Yeah.
697. 674, Jason Abbott, coached by Mike Grillo. 648, completed by Mike Austin, coached by Nick Hammer. And the list goes on. Pretty awesome. Nikki and I also made the list here as coaches. I have 2 clients, actually. Peter Trams, shout out, 565. Andy Skukas, 410. Jumping down here, Nikki, you've got Stephanie Heflin and Stephen Lamont, all 100% compliant.
And shout out to Stephanie, because she had some injury stuff to work through, and she and I were able to get on the same page about it and got her into a great groove, and she's like total comeback phase. It's awesome.
Yeah, same with Andy. He definitely dealt with some back stuff this year, but just kept plugging along. It's really awesome. Just kind of scanning through the list, it looks like Michael Wolf, which we'll hear his name come up in terms of consistency later on, but Michael's got 1, 2, 3 clients in this list on consistency. To the next category, we've got, do we want to do Coach OTD? Nikki thought this would be...
well, at least because all 3 of us are on it.
I have a single feather ruffled.
Nikki thought this one would be feather ruffling because there are some app inconsistencies that cause people to occasionally miss that we've worked out a couple of solutions for. But that's why it's not only the 100% compliant. We have all coaches over 99% compliant. Or excuse me, on time.
By the way, it's 30. There's like 30 coaches here.
Yeah, pretty impressive list
that are over
here.
99% breaking down all of their videos, all of their workouts within 24 hours. It's pretty incredible.
Right. So at the top of the list, honorable mention here, Adam Skillen is 100% on time for 2023 with 6,278 on time.
6,000 workouts that guy broke down this year.
It's incredible.
Which is also the most on this list. So, and his name comes up a bunch.
And we actually have 7 coaches that are literally at 100%. Didn't miss a single workout breakdown.
As well as the 3 of us, as you mentioned.
Right. So Nikki's the first one. She's got 1 missed workout, which is probably something.
Let me tell you about what that is.
All right. Let's hear it.
I'm on the Coach Yourself platform. My workouts come into my feed, and I didn't review my own workout because it didn't think it mattered. I was just like, I was there. I saw how it went.
I'm just saying.
So Nikki's OTD is 99.97%.
Because of the workout that I missed.
99.97.
1 out of 3,683.
Right. And then I'm down the list just a little bit. I had 5. I think all 5 of those came on the same morning. I remember when it happened, I thought I had started to break down videos. I had one of those weird days and where I always break down in the morning. And then I started to break them down in the afternoon. And then I had another meeting come up and I thought I had broken them all down and got up the next morning and was like, oh no.
That sucks.
And I think all of those came the same day. So I'm 99.88%.
I missed 8 out of 4,445 workouts. Yeah.
But you have more workouts too. So you're at 99.82.
Second most workouts reviewed on this list behind Adam by a couple thousand, but
couple thousand. Amazing.
Still.
I'm always like, man, I feel like I'm coaching all the time. Then I'm hearing that number. I'm just like, Ben Skillen is coaching twice as much as me.
But in our defense, we work a little bit of another job at the business than just so most of these guys on the list are coaches, and we're very grateful for them, and they do an incredible job. But most of our time is spent as CEO, COO, CXO. So I think to myself, like, man, how sweet would my life be if all I had to do is break down videos every day, and then I was done, shut down the computer, and
thought about that too. Yeah.
I'll just do a quick shout out to the other 100%ers: Ben Patterson, Noah Hayden, Matt Fever, Brian Hosford, Jamal Eunice.
Ooh, those are a lot of newer coaches.
Yeah.
Neat.
I think that's an interesting data point.
It is interessante.
Can't sleep on the new coaches.
Nope. They're great.
All right. So this where it gets a little bit more competitive in nature, perhaps.
Yeah, performance-based.
Performance-based in terms of the actual lifts. So highest tonnage. So this is client who has lifted the most tonnage of the big 4 lifts in 2023. We had to narrow it down. I know a lot of people don't necessarily focus on these 4, but just pick these just because out of an interesting data point. So the client who had the most squat tonnage is Paul Scholine at 709,608 pounds.
Oof,
Wow, that's so neat.
it's a lot of squats.
Highest tonnage for the press, my client and block coach Adam Fangman with 382,522 pounds. We have been pressing a lot.
I would think.
And you'll see his name come up again with the press later on, which might be a little bit of a foreshadowing as to some of the results he's gotten from all that tonnage. Highest cumulative tonnage deadlift was Roger Overpeck with 534,562.5 pounds. And the most bench pressing was Jason McGraw at 510,190 pounds.
So interesting how close the tonnage is between deadlift and bench press.
I know. That is wild.
I do find that interesting. Yeah. A little bit surprising to me.
Well, I think don't you think it's because the bench press, you end up with more volume and less weight, but the deadlift ends up with more weight and less volume.
Sure.
Yep.
And so they end up kind of canceling each other out. They're really close.
Yeah, I would have thought that somebody would have maybe been experimenting with high volume deadlift, but
Yeah. 5x5s and 5x6s.
probably you just can't do as much frequency. Even if you're doing a high volume deadlift, you're probably not doing it as frequently as the bench either.
Yeah,
So.
that makes sense. Yep.
All right, on to biggest lifts of the year for the big 4. Coming at the heaviest deadlift was Nick Maggio at 685. I believe that was also at a competition, USSF competition.
Remember, he deadlifted like 755 or something.
Okay.
So his PR is in the high 700s because he went for 800 that day.
Oh, I think is that the kilogram pound kind of issue?
Maybe, although he had torn his bicep. And so I think some of this, like over this last year, so that was his big deadlift was at the end of 2022. And then he tore his bicep and came back from surgery. And so he still got the highest deadlift of any of our clients this year at 685 pounds post bicep tendon repair. It's pretty impressive.
Cool.
All right. As mentioned, this name was going to come up again for the press. Adam Fangman hit a 275 earlier this year.
Very nice.
Squat was Patrick Euman's 601. I believe that was also in a competition.
Yep. And he's a coach for a coach and client. So just say talk about this a lot, that many of us are coaches and clients. So we see that software from both ends of the spectrum.
And then bench was Eric Dahl at 450.
And he's pressed 300 pounds, I think, before.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, I'm surprised he wasn't in on the press, actually.
I think he was a little bit injured this year. I think I saw a post from him where he said he
Yeah.
dealt with some injuries this year and whatnot. But that's still pretty dang strong across the board.
You know, some people might be listening and be like, well, I mean, it's not like that big. Nobody's setting world records here. But
Sure.
every single one of these people are, you know, none of them are professional lifters. They're
Normal, right? They're dads and they work
Yep.
jobs and
Exactly. So, you know, I think these are pretty impressive numbers.
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, certainly among population on Earth, this is all fractional percentage of the population that could do this kind of stuff. So pretty cool.
That's right.
Here's some, I think, interesting ones. Total number of workouts completed in 2023, 139,834. Lifetime, or at least since May of 20... Actually, we have workout history from our legacy software, so I'd actually should double check that. But anyways, 366,308 workouts completed. In 2023, we had 395,893 exercises completed, assigned and completed, and total since transitioning to TKC, we crossed over the 1 million mark with 1,025,906 completed exercises.
It's really cool.
And then coaches reviewed 127,806 workouts.
Yeah.
Interesting that, yeah, I guess that matches up pretty closely with the number of workouts completed by the clients.
Yeah. And maybe coach yourself or some of that stuff too.
Well, that has to do with the time off that we.
Right.
Yeah.
And then a total of 340,000 workouts reviewed since we came over in 2021. Breaking that down into the lifts, we have 693,409 bench presses, 642,861 squats.
So look, all three of those are really close. They're all in the 600s to high 600,000. And then you get to deadlift and it goes 334,000.
Yeah, and then back to your point, your deadlift's half the volume, 334,000. Yeah, that is interesting. And then importantly, we also, as a company, did 181,607 barbell curls.
Excellent.
Or dumbbell curls.
Lest anyone think that all we do is the 4 big lifts. Our 5th highest exercise was curls. Because we all know that we all just still want to curl. We all want jacked arms.
I want big arms.
Going into some lifetime coaching metrics here, Adam Skillen has 15,068 workouts in TKC reviewed and only one miss, which he also claims was the app's fault. So my mea culpa. It's probably I probably caused it.
It says on there, like, and I believe him. So if the guy hasn't ever missed a single breakdown and he's like, that one was the app's fault, it was probably the app's fault.
Yeah.
So
most workouts reviewed for the company as a coach is Becca Krieg, 15,426, which also includes, I'm sure, nutrition. You look at the list here, pretty much everybody in the top 6, 7 that we have here are also nutrition coaches, which definitely makes a big difference. Honorable mention, I will point out I am 3rd on this list with 12,940 workouts reviewed lifetime.
pretty solid.
And then we have Carl Schute, Michael Burgos, Caleb Krieg, and Nikki Berman rounding out the top, all over 10,000 workouts reviewed.
That is so cool.
That is cool.
All right, coaches with the most consistency, Nick Solin,
Most consistent clients.
and at least 5 clients. Nick Solin's got 95.7%. Michael Wolf, again, showing up with 95.4%.
Pretty incredible.
Really good.
I remember looking at that data a long time ago, that they have excellent coaching, very low churn. And one of the things that jumped out for both of those guys was just how high their client consistency is. And we've talked about that before. That's just a huge leading indicator of potential churn. Continue to see that,
And progress.
Yep. If consistency's there, progress is there, clients are happy. All right. Some fun overall block stats here. We have over 100 clients that have completed 1,000 workouts. And I think, Matt, you've got a particular client in there on the list, right?
Well, yeah. So I think our client, Jordan Gross, who's one of our lead investors, who hit it last week before last, I think he was our 100th client to hit 1,000 workouts.
Right.
And then our other lead investor, Wade Milas, he hit it last year or early this year. So it's cool that both of our lead investors and board members are 1,000 workout club members, which I think is telling that they've experienced the business for a long time and see the value in it. So it's really cool. These aren't guys sitting on the sideline that are just betting on the value of the business, but they're actually deeply involved on a daily basis doing workouts. And so actually Jordan texted me just a little while ago to say, we're setting up a call on Thursday to talk through his New Year's goals and what he wants to accomplish in 2024. Like, that's how bought in they are. So that's pretty cool.
Awesome. We also have, unbelievably, 13 that are already over 1,500 completed workouts. I think I've got at least one in there, maybe 2.
They get like a trip to Hawaii. What do we do for those?
We don't have anything set up for over that. We have the BL1K club, but nothing yet for the 1,500 and 2,000. Yeah.
Well, we might want to get on that because we also have one client under Nikki Berman who has completed over 2,000 workouts.
Incredible.
I thought it was her. I thought it was Nikki Berman.
Oh,
I thought it was her too.
No, it is Nikki Berman. And I think Brittany's really close.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So I think she's coming up on 2,000. So we're going to have another 2,000.
And these are strength and nutrition, which I think is still fantastic.
Correct.
Yeah, I think the nutrition really makes a huge difference because often people are doing VFD 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So I always kind of I think we rightly recognize that, but I also think I think I've had my first client with only 1 or 2 with only strength workouts. So the most they're doing is 3 or 4 workouts a week.
Yep.
Not to take away from 2,000. I mean, that's certainly awesome, but pretty cool.
And that's also both Wade and Jordan. They've never done nutrition. They've just done strength. So they both hit 1,000 workouts just of strength workouts.
And just asterisk here, the median time to reach 1,000 workouts is 4.9 years. So that is 100 clients with over roughly 5 years with the company. Pretty awesome.
It is incredible.
Last couple of data points here. Videos uploaded all time over 1 million. 2023 was just under 400,000. And the most video uploaded was Adam Skillen with 6,266. Those are all coaching feedback videos.
Content creators.
Yep.
Yeah, really.
And all time, Skillen has done 13,000 videos.
Wow.
Which is incredible.
That's just something that speaks to online coaching and the skill that we've had to develop in becoming a big force in this industry, which I believe we are. Like, you have to be able to connect with your clients. It can't just be over text. You have to be able to let them see you, let them hear you, learn really well. And I think it's because we're able to do basically, as you've called them before, react videos.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Rolling into probably, hopefully, maybe, who knows, the more interesting BLOCies. So this is going to be awards that you guys will be handing out. I'll go last here, but I'll pitch these to you guys. First off, under the broad category of lifting and coaching, Matt, what was your favorite exercise or movement of 2023? Now, this could either be for you as a client and or as a coach to assign.
Well, I would say that what I've noticed is that when you love it as a client, you end up assigning it as a coach. That's what.
Totally.
I did this. It's probably going to surprise people. I think my favorite lift that I've started to program and do myself this year is an incline dumbbell press. I really like an incline dumbbell press.
What do you like about it?
I think it's a great range of motion. It doesn't hurt my shoulders the way a barbell incline press does. It's great for hypertrophy. You can control the cadence. I do like a 3-second eccentric and a big stretch in the bottom and then fire the thing up and squeeze. And so I really like that. And then my honorable mention there is actually Bulgarian split squats, which are so hard.
Damn.
I've been doing those a lot lately, but I've been programming that. I just think it's an excellent accessory movement and so easy for anybody to do from a home gym. People that don't have leg extension, leg curls, stuff like that, they can do this. I think it's hard to beat a Bulgarian split squat for accessories.
That's awesome. Niki, do you have a favorite exercise of 2023?
This might conflict or double up my favorite piece of equipment, but I discovered at the gym in Springfield this year, it's kind of like a pendulum leg press. It's not a pendulum squat. It's different. It's that you like actually sit into the chair of a leg press, and instead of the weights being on a track, it swings. So it's on like a pendulum.
You swing, right?
Nope. You're stationary.
Oh, okay.
It's really funky looking.
Yeah, you're stationary. So yeah, the company that makes it that I found is by Hammer Strength.
We've only seen 2 in the country.
Yep, only encountered 2 out of all the wonderful gyms we've been to. But yeah, it's instead of you pushing on this track, it has a pivot point up ahead, and it feels so good. Like when I did it, I was like, holy like, how does this feel so good? Like, it's like this weird release where I'm able to like train my legs without my back being a distraction. And in fact, it makes my back feel better. It's just like so weird how good it feels. And it was fun to encounter that because I feel like I could spend the entire day on there because it actually feels like a release of some sort.
Nice.
I was shocked that I actually had the same as you, Matt. The incline, I would say incline pressing in general was something that my coach added, Nick Hammer, a lot more incline, both straight bar and dumbbell. I used to have really kind of cranky shoulders, and the incline dumbbell bench press seemed to be a really good stretch for me. So I would often, and I've been doing this actually with a lot of my clients, is I'll have them warm up with dumbbell incline bench press, and it just sort of like hits the shoulders in a way that feels good. And then just I've been noticing that it's also a more stable pressing, like obviously not directly overhead pressing movement, but you can do more weight. And I haven't been pressing as much just straight up overhead, but my press strength is basically the same, even though I'm not doing it quite as much. So yeah, I would put that for myself. And then also Bulgarian split squats are probably the one that I've been adding the most this year as well. And clients have a love-hate relationship. I find it's one where they'll either be like, yes, give me more, or never do that again.
I think I'm curious if you guys still feel this way next year, because I did go through a phase myself of like, this is the best. And I'm just like, never again. I've done it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Paid my dues.
Well, I am one that I don't like doing it, but I like
nice.
giving clients.
I did them this morning. I was like, "Oh, these suck." And I got the little pad that goes on the. I don't know if you've seen that. There's kind of a. I think it's a hexagonal pad, and it goes on the actual collar of the bar, so the collar spins. So you put your back foot on it, and it gives you a really good spot and you can just kind of hold it vertical. But yeah, works great.
All right, least favorite exercise, Matt, of 2023.
So funny that we agreed on the favorite. My least favorite is the incline barbell press.
Oh,
Not a fan.
Okay.
And it's because I have seen, and also with clients, and it's certainly, I think there's a lot of these movements that, they just either hurt or they don't. Dips are like this, right? Somebody does dip and they're like, I love it, feels great. And some people do dips and are like, this kills my shoulders. And so, okay, well, we're not going to do that.
Yep.
And an incline barbell press for me is that it just, for whatever reason, incline barbell press hurts and incline dumbbell press doesn't. And so there's something about that unilateral piece, or I can spread. I can twist the dumbbells just a little bit, and I can't do that on the barbell press. So I'm not a big fan of the incline barbell press. And I think that anything that incline barbell press gets you, I don't think it carries over really well to strength, to press or bench press. It's a hypertrophy movement. And I think people could argue against that. But I think as a hypertrophy movement, I think the incline dumbbell is just better across the board than the barbell. So I mostly just picked that because it was in such stark contrast to my favorite, which was the exact same movement, but with dumbbells.
Cool. Niki?
Deficit deadlifts have a bad color to them. I've noticed there has been an interesting pattern that I've observed that injuries occur with people doing deficit deadlifts. It happened to me and it happened to my clients. And I'm just like, I'm not a full study, an observation as a coach and as a lifter. I just don't mess with them anymore because there are many other things I can do. I'm just like, nope, I see people get hurt. Not even going to test it out.
I keep them really low. The longer I've coached, I keep the deficit low. So, I can't stand a 3-inch deficit on a deficit deadlift, but like a 1-inch deficit, I like because I think it's almost a mental game. Then you pull that deficit and you're like, if you can get in a good position in a very low deficit, set your back, everything's clean. Then when you pull that little mat and you're pulling from the floor, you're like, oh man, I feel like I'm in such a great position now. But I think it's a quick changeover from it carries over to being too bent over, too rounded back too. So I can see it's definitely a higher risk movement.
It seems like very anthropometry dependent.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I have some clients whose setup position looks better in a deficit. Have you ever noticed that? Like
I always loved it. I felt great doing deficit deadlifts because I can get more knees in this and it felt awesome. But that was the deadlift that caused the cascade of my back issues. And so it's PTSD.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't know if I would call it my least favorite, but it's been demoted, I would say, in my programming and personally, is the overhead press. Kind of alluded to that in my favorite.
Wow.
It's just,
Interesting.
It doesn't seem to support any particular goals. I mean, I still will say that the strongest people I know are all good overhead pressers. And if you want to get stronger at the press, you need to press. But it just hasn't been interesting to me. And I've treated it more like an accessory in my programming, except for the clients. It's funny for me saying this because I also had Adam Fangman as my client who had the most pressing. He was often pressing 3 slots a week. And yeah, like I said, if somebody's really excited about the press, I certainly use it. But I just find myself more and more often putting it as secondary to the bench because it doesn't seem to be a driver of other things. Whereas if I drive the bench, I think the press goes up unless you really want to be good at the press. Like I said, if you do want to do a heavy press single, you have to be pressing all the time.
Yep.
But it just seems like a low ROI, if you will, on the time that you need to drive your press up, which is really like adding, 10 pounds to your press is a big deal. So I don't know.
Niki, you haven't pressed for years, right? It's been a while since you've pressed.
Yeah, I introduced it again for a while and my shoulder just got pissed off again. So one of those things is not worth it for me.
I think if you ask me the same question next year, then that could very well be my same answer because I'm seeing the same thing. Now, I do really like a dumbbell press, a standing dumbbell press. I like it better than a barbell right now because, again, I think people can play with the angle of the dumbbell and they can find the space where their shoulder clears. So that shoulder joint is just, it's so weird and it's also so different for everybody. And so like some people have more space, some people have less. And so you get a guy like Feynman who's got a lot of space and his shoulders are super healthy. You look at his range of motion, it's excellent. But for others, man, just look at that range of motion. I was like, this is not.
And when someone's like really asymmetrical in their shoulders.
Yeah. And there's like a 90-degree angle between their torso and their arm and their elbows are locked out. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know what we're doing here. So yeah, agreed.
Interesting.
Agreed. That's a good one.
All right. On to favorite or best piece of equipment. I know both of you have been using machines more often, so I'm curious what you've come to really look forward to.
I have, although I didn't really pick a machine. I picked something that I think is out of the ordinary. I really focused on recovery equipment this year. So I got a sauna, I got a cold plunge, I got an 8 sleep.
Ooh,
I got an e-bike.
Nice.
I love my Apple Watch Ultra. So I would just say like the entirety of recovery-based equipment, I love. I also know, and we'll probably hear about this, that none of those are proven to do anything, but I just feel so much better when I do them. And so, yeah, all that stuff, sauna, cold plunge, hot tub, 8 sleep, e-bike, just the stuff that makes me feel better.
we are not sponsored by any of those.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I will say an honorable mention for me are my dumbbell holders from Titan Fitness. Titan Fitness, it's been a long time since somebody came out with something that you could actually put dumbbells in the rack. It's so hard for me to do. Again, you talk about an incline press. You got like 100-pound dumbbells, taking an incline press from your lap and getting them up your shoulders. I'm like, I'm going to crunch my shoulders. I'm going to tear a bicep. Now I can put these things in the rack and take them out at lockout and then come down and bench and put them back in. So I really like that piece as an honorable mention.
That might be why you prefer the incline dumbbell more than I do, because that's the one limiting factor for me with incline dumbbells. I just don't like having to get the dumbbell up into that position. But if you have the dumbbell holders...
Yep, it would make a big difference. Wolf has a set, and I was like, where'd you get those? And he's like, man, I got them from this company, and they've gone out of business. They don't sell them anymore. And I've just been looking, and finally last year, I actually had a client, shout out to Avi, who actually works for Apple on the Apple Watch. He got some. I was like, where'd you get those? And he said Titan, and I literally stopped breaking down his video and went and bought them, and they were fantastic. So
nice.
The only other thing I would say without elongating this too much is that for my clients, I've made a lot of, so one, I love the mono attachment, which I've had for a couple of years. The mono attachment, if you bench by yourself, and squats, I love both, but for bench, it's fantastic. I've got more and more of my clients getting those.
It's essential.
And then I've started to add things that are easy to travel and pack with for my clients. So like, I like a bench block. I think about the old days of West Side, where we actually use board presses, like full 2x6s, 1 board, 2 board, 3 boards for partials, slingshot, spans for tendon work and shoulder external rotations, things like that. The pad for the Bulgarian split squats, the stuff that's just easy to throw in your bag and take around. I think some of those travel accessories work great. So I really like that for clients. So that's me.
Niki, are you going to twofer on the pendulum squat?
Actually, different one. I'm going to go for the belt squat. Yeah, the belt squat attachment to a squat rack. I got mine from Revolt Fitness. I think there are others out there, but that has been absolutely crucial to my training, able to get heavy leg training without loading my back.
Nice.
You don't have to join a gym. You can do it right from your home gym, and it's like less than $100.
I'm going to go with pendulum squat.
Nice. Are you guys looking to try to find how to buy one?
The pendulum squat's different.
Oh,
I'm actually talking about an actual pendulum squat machine where you squat down.
Got it. Yeah.
She's got, I don't even know what you call the one you're talking about. It's like
I don't know either.
Pendulum leg press. It's more like a leg press.
Yeah.
Versus the pendulum squat. But man, the position that I can get in the bottom and just I think it's the thing that I feel like I can work my legs the most, get into the most knee flexion without it hurting my knees or anything like that. So I've just really been enjoying the stretch at the bottom of that one.
Awesome.
All right. Best lifting and or fitness trend of 2023.
All right. Controversial answer for me, but clearly the winner. It's GLP-1 drugs.
Interesting.
That is controversial.
It's Wegovy, Ozempic, Mounjaro. Dude, they're awesome. And just because I want to be transparent, that's definitely helped me lose 60 pounds. And I started taking it, and it just cuts your hunger cravings. It also helps with blood sugar. And started taking it at a relatively low dose, lost 60 pounds, and I got my HbA1c blood test done again in June, and it was 5.1.
Wow.
It went from 8.3 to 5.1. And so I think these things are awesome. Yes, we don't know entirely what the long-term effects are, but we know what the long-term effects of diabetes are, just death and losing your legs. And so I love it. My honorable mention there is I continue to see a big growth in home gyms and asynchronous coaching. I've watched other businesses who started with synchronous coaching platforms look at, I think, us and a few others and say, man, asynchronous is the way to go because of the freedom it provides both the coach and the client. So the combination of a home gym with an asynchronous expert coach, I just think you're going to continue to, well, the compounded annual growth rate for that right now is like 36%. Compounded annual growth rate. It's massive per year. So that's my favorite lifting trends of the year.
Good.
Andrew, you want to go next?
I think it seems to me, maybe this could be just that I've cultivated my social media following or filter out the noise, but it seems like there's more and more conversation around really what I think we've been talking about as a company for a while now, several years, of more of an emphasis on fitness and nutrition around improving your quality of life.
For sure.
I think we've been at the tip of that spear for years now, but it's just more and more of the conversation seems to be around moving away from lifting being the suffering thing that you got to go in and just like kill yourself, or that fitness needs to be about hurting yourself,
The burden.
and that nutrition needs to be about restricting and starving. And it seems more balanced, along with some of the evidence-based stuff is getting challenged in a way. Again, kind of a similar vein that I think that people are recognizing what works with practical experience, what works in the field. And often science and evidence-based stuff can be used to influence that. But often the thing that's most successful, and the reason I think this ties in, is that people, I think, can wrap their head around making sustainable changes to improve their quality of life. That works. Some of the things that actually work in the gym that you can see based on experience might not have evidence-based backing, but it works in the field. So I think that general trend, it seems to be moving in that direction more and more. But again, maybe I'm biased and I ignore all the quackery that's still raging in the fitness industry. But
Sure.
It seems like more and more people are talking that way in general.
Niki, what's yours?
Gosh, I have so many. One trend I've noticed that I love is how many more women I see at the gym in the weight section. They're just like, I can tell they want to build muscle. They are working hard. They're showing off their muscular bodies. And it's like, I can tell they want to grow muscle. And that's been fun to see as a coach because I've gotten more women who are chasing that goal. And also in my personal life, I see it more like my sister, friends of my sister, my other sister, my mom, like just, I see it like the volume is getting turned up. And I've really enjoyed that.
And anecdotally at the gym, seems like I would almost say there's more women that appear to be training than men.
Yeah.
Like there's still overall more men in the gym, it seems, but most of them appear to be around.
Yeah. No,
Whereas
agreed.
like the women I see are like legit training.
They're serious.
Yeah. Like at the 24-hour fitness I go to, there's an area downstairs where it's 6 squat racks. And often it's full of ladies lifting 2-depth squats and deadlifting.
Full depth squat, deadlifting.
Yeah, that's different. And that's been really fun. I'm going to throw in a fashion trend that I've loved, which is onesies. Like so many fitness, even like Lululemon, Peachy Bum, like Gymshark, they have like onesies and they're so comfortable. They look really cute. They're really fun. They're different. So fan of that fitness trend in the fashion realm.
When you bring in the men's onesie in 2024, make that hot. I'll wear it. I don't care.
All right. Moving on to worst lifting/fitness trend of 2023.
I struggle with this one because there's so much crap all the time. And I don't know if you guys maybe have come up with a better new crap of this past year. I went with I would say maybe it's a style or fashion trend, and it's the massive Stanley. Not a fan. So
The massive Stanley?
I
The
don't like
huge
massive
cup.
Stanleys.
The water cup.
Oh.
All these ladies who are training for real have a half-gallon water cup, and they don't fit in any of the cup holders. This could be because I have a wife and 2 daughters who all have 6 of them apiece.
They take up a lot of real estate.
Yeah, my house is just littered with 2-liter Stanleys everywhere. So
I'm waiting for Nikki to reach off camera and pull hers.
and grab her Stanley.
Well, I got one of those for Christmas. I wasn't out looking for one. I actually kind of have talked shit about them more than once and was like,
Yeah.
I will never buy that. And then I got one for Christmas. But I actually really like it.
Well, yours is a Takaya, right? And it fits in a cup holder.
My wife and kids all had to buy the cup holder expanders that go in and this
yeah.
giant that you can put the thing in. So
I've got one of those, except being in the Pacific Northwest, it's for my Nalgene.
Obviously.
In my
Obviously. Mhm.
in your Subaru. Yeah. Wearing your North Face.
How dare you, Patagonia, sir.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. My bad. So I'm showing I'm from the Midwest and don't know.
Man, I'm struggling with this one because maybe we'll edit this one out. We'll see what the producers say. But I really am struggling with worst trend is clearly the broccoli hair, dangly earring, plaid pants, and Crocs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that trend needs to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will fade quickly, but yeah. Anyways,
Yeah. And a trend, I was going to say Crocs at the gym. But I don't think it works. And I think this one also is being called out is photoshopping for fitness influencers where they Photoshop their bodies and then they sell stuff. And it's just like so
Have you seen
ridiculous.
the guy there's a guy on Instagram that calls everybody out?
Goob.
He's awesome.
Yes, I love that.
And then they'll DM him and like immediately he's getting DMs from somebody that's got 10 million followers. And like, how dare you put me on there? He's like, listen, you clearly did. So just admit.
Welcome to the show. And then he'll go through and show why.
That's right.
All right. Moving on to business.
Yeah.
Bringing in a little bit more of your podcast, Matt. What was your biggest business win of 2023?
Well, 2023 was the best year of our business for sure. And so literally picking one is really almost impossible. But I would say in the first week of January, we landed the big government contract, and it really set the tone for the business for the rest of the year. And so I think that was probably the biggest win for us. It was certainly the one that made me the most emotional when it hit. I called Dan and I couldn't talk on the phone. I was at the cabin. I was sobbing. I was like, oh my God, this is huge. And then that really led to us being able to raise a Series A, which has been huge. Hopefully I can say this, or if not, we had our first $1 million quarter in Q4, which is incredible. And then it allowed us to really speed up launching TKC into the market, which I think hasn't crossed the chasm yet, but I think it will in 2024. And so we were in that early adopter phase of TKC, and it's gone really well. And so all of those really came on the back of the government contract, and that's sort of the traction that built. So to me, that's the biggest win for the business in 2023. And with more to come, I mean, we feel very confident that we actually landed another one a couple months ago. It's a lesser one, but still a very important one. And then we've got 2 more that we should hear about in the next few weeks. And it's been fantastic. So
yeah, let's hope we're celebrating the extension.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
When we get together.
What about you guys?
Well, I think that the military contract is certainly like you said, what initiated everything for the year. I mean, it happened right in the beginning of January and kind of laid the groundwork for would probably be any other win that I could list. But for me personally, as a subset of that, I think taking TKC public in August was the culmination of 4 years of work. It was actually August of 2019 when you first connected me with David, our lead developer. We've been using it internally for a couple of years now and had gotten pretty comfortable with that. But taking it public kind of opened it up to another level of scrutiny. I feel like a higher level maybe of expectations, just because when you're using it internally, people kind of give you the benefit of the doubt. And when we took it public, it was kind of the next level. And a lot of the conversations we were having were about willingness to pay and whether or not we would be able to put something out there that people would want to pay for. And the feedback that I've gotten so far has just been a huge win for me, getting people that are coming over from other platforms that I've always kind of felt like I was comparing myself to or trying to catch up to, and hearing that they see the value of TKC and not just as it's good enough or it's pretty good, this is better. And recognizing a lot of the things that were, in a lot of cases, decisions that I felt like I was making in a vacuum to make the software work a certain way that I just thought was the right thing to do.
Yep.
And oftentimes was controversial, even internally. A lot of people didn't get it or like it at first even. And now to open it up to the public and be getting positive feedback has been a huge win for me.
We were listening to Lex Friedman interview Jeff Bezos on his podcast. And Jeff Bezos said something about how when something that was a novelty is so commonplace that it's almost taken for granted. And I do think that has occurred with online coaching. Like, it is not just enough to have an online coaching format anymore.
Yep.
I love that we're helping people in a way that allows them not just to have a link in bio, not just to have a PayPal, not just to have a way to text videos and review them. Like, it's a way to be a really good coach and then deliver excellent service. When we first started back in 2016, it was new. It was so new that we got, people were talking shit.
Sure.
And now it's, if you're not doing it, you're behind.
Yep.
And we're at the point now where it has to be very highly skilled coaches delivered across an excellent platform. And I think that's really cool that we've taken the business, or we've at least been a part of that transition where it's not just special to be an online coach. You have to be really something unique to keep it moving forward.
The professionalism of the online coaching industry, I think we've really, Andrew said, we've been on the cutting edge of, and the standard of service, which is for years it was, sell me a Google Sheet template for $50. And like, that's not online coaching. And I think the world is seeing that now. Like, online coaching is interaction and building a relationship. Andrew, the stuff you talk about all the time of showing that you have the ability and the integrity and the benevolence to build that relationship and build trust with your clients. Like, that is the professional service side. Like, you have to have that same standard of service as an online coach as you would for good coaches that do this in person. And I certainly think we've been on the cutting edge of that. So yeah, it's super cool.
All right. On the flip side, biggest setback of 2023.
This is actually hard for me because it was such a good year. I don't have anything that I'm like, boy, we really screwed the pooch on. I want to see, I'm very happy with where TKC is right now. I want to see it cross the chasm and be widely adopted. And so I don't know that is a setback, because I think it's coming for sure. I'm impatient and I want to be like, come on, like, and like you said, people that use it, they're just like, this is amazing. So if they buy into it, if they onboard, if they actually commit to the thing, just same thing with online coaching, they love it and they don't leave. They're like, the value is incredible here. So that's one. I think the buy-in of the end users is still, we knew going into this government contract, getting incredible buy-in, high percentage buy-in by the end users was going to be a big piece of it. And it is a big piece. And so we've seen the same thing there for our clients in the government sector, the soldiers, the airmen who have bought in. They are crushing it. Their strength is through the roof. Their metrics are fantastic. Their PFTs are kicking its ass. But there's still a lack of, and I don't know if you call it product market fit, but there is a negative connotation with government contracts because the government spends so much money on probably ridiculous stuff that their initial thought of a government contract is just another place that the government's spending stupid money. And so being able to really convince these airmen and soldiers to buy in, I think is a big piece. The extension that we are hoping to get, the leadership at that level have been clients that have been using this now for several years. So I'm super, Niki, you've got one, who's a colonel, and they are incredibly bought in. And so I'm super excited about the potential for that, but I would have liked to have seen a little more buy-in there. And then we just had some kind of slowed BLOC signups this year. I mean, BLOC kind of plateaued. And some of that was, was okay because we really focused our efforts on building TKC and the government contracts. And so, but it sort of plateaued, but we've got some huge things on the horizon that we'll talk about in the next episode. We do a great job once people get into our funnel and know who Barbell Logic is, driving them down the funnel and getting them to sign up. But we're at a point now where we've done a really good job of picking the low-hanging fruit, and there's not a lot of low-hanging fruit left. And so we have to go outside kind of our initial community to continue to see the Barbell Logic online coaching side, the actual B2C business grow. So I wouldn't say any of those were setbacks, but there were just places that I wish we'd hit goals just a little bit more. Still very, very pleased with where the business has gone this year.
Yeah, similar in that last thread there wasn't as much growth as I had wanted for Barbell Logic, online coaching portion of the business. It was our lowest priority in our business structure, which is fine because it was doing great and it still is a great service, but it's a great challenge now because now I have the question to answer of what can I do to make this more special and what can I do for more people to experience this? So it's a wonderful trigger to rethink it, to look at it a different angle, to look at the client journey, to find a new piece of that journey to kind of amplify and connect or find ways to connect with people who are looking for it. So I think it's a fun problem to solve.
What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, I'd probably, just stepping back, putting my COO hat on, looking at the game plan overall. It's hard calling it a setback when we had the best year, like you said,
right?
Yeah.
Ever.
Sure.
But, things that I look at in hindsight and think we could do better next time around, or things I'm really looking forward to talking with the leadership team when we get together later this month, or reflecting on the things from our game plan and our strategic deployment priorities that didn't work and how we want to reprioritize or focus going into 2024. I think we made a ton of huge progress on all of them. One huge win we haven't talked about was releasing our tactical athlete program and the work that CJ and the content team did, putting together
and Coaching 101,
the Coaching 101 product that we've released. So like our ability to create and generate amazing educational content and the work that we did on the academy was a huge win. But then the setback of the, like you said, Matt, the military clients not getting a broad adoption, the people that did it and loved the content and flew through it and bought in and are ready to coach. And then we just didn't quite get as much traction as maybe we wanted with the broader range of the contract. But then on BLOC, we did a lot of work on just managing our margins better and making adjustments there so that the product is in a better place from just like an overall business health perspective. So we're in a good position to grow now, I think.
For sure.
Whereas before, I don't know if we were super confident about driving a ton of growth.
Yeah. Could we drive it and handle it?
Yeah. I think we've just got some good kind of business fundamentals, I think, were established there. So, and then with TKC, like you said, we just quite haven't hit the growth that we wanted yet, but everything seems like it's right in the position that we want it to be, just like 1 to 2 quarters long, everything taken like 3 to 6 months longer than we wanted it to take.
Yeah.
So maybe that's how I would phrase it sort of generically, is that it just,
yeah, I think so too.
What's the old phrase that you underestimate what you can get done in a day and overestimate what you can get done in a year or something like that? Maybe it's the other way around. I don't know.
Yep.
But
Right.
Feels like we were a little bit ambitious when thinking what we could get done in a year, even though we got a ton done.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really great spot to end it for today. We're going to talk about our look ahead into 2024 in our next episode. And we're also going to give a little insight to our personal experiences looking back on 2023 and how we see things going forward for ourselves in 2024, which I think is always really interesting. Because the three of us are very different humans. And I think that's what makes us a really fun team, is that we have much different perspectives. We're driven differently. And so I always really love to hear what you've learned from the year and what you see looking forward. So we'll get into that on our next episode. And that next episode is going to be on the TKC coaching success.
Yes. I was going to say, I think one of the things that's really great with us is that we complement each other so well. Because we're so different, we complement each other well. Josh isn't on this, but another huge win that people don't see behind the scenes is that I think that we made is when we made the move to put each member of Mission Control in charge of, or basically like the CEO of one of the major projects or products or priorities. So, Andrew oversees TKC and Josh oversees the Academy and Niki, you oversee BLOC and I oversee the government. And you guys really get the freedom to basically be the CEO of that. I got to meet with my little brother, Chris, and he's like, dude, you're really doing the CEO thing right. You don't have your fingers in everything. These incredible leadership team members have the freedom to grow their chunk of the business. And I think then because at the functional team level, we complement each other so well, where one is strong, somebody else is weak. And, Andrew's such a great operational guy and I'm a great sales guy. Everybody just complements each other well. And I think it's one of the reasons this has worked so well and continues to work well.
I think you just assigned yourself dictator of the government. I think I just said, you oversee the government.
I'm sorry. I oversee the government side of our business. So, no. And we've got a great team of other leadership, Dan and Niki and Nick Solin and the whole team, CJ. It's just been incredible. And so very grateful.
And the coaches.
Oh, they're awesome.
They just continue to crush it. It's amazing.
Top to bottom. I hear about Steve Jobs talking about only hire A players, and I look through our staff and I'm like, that's all we got. This is a team full of A players, which is fantastic. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, so tune in on Friday and we'll go through all that fun stuff. Thanks for listening today. Give us a review, give us a share. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.